So for this painting I'm going to use a board, and you can see up close maybe this board is a hard board. It's plain white back, which we normally use. I like to paint on this side. It's got quite an interesting texture. It's similar to canvas, but it's stiffer. So I'm going to start off this. You can see I've just sketched a quick outline in charcoal, just so I get a sense of where I'm going to put the medium, which I'm going to place on top of this. So to start with, I treated the board with this GAC 100 just to stop any discoloration and prevent any of the acid which might be in the wooden board coming through. I then primed it with gesso, using first off today fiber paste, so golden gel medium, and this has a kind of a gritty finish to it, which can give you nice textures. And for areas where I want a smoother finish, I'm just going to use the moulding paste, also in this case from gold. It takes about a day to dry, so put it on first and then let that dry. So now that I have the outline of the stump on the board here, I'm applying the soft gel to give me some texture to the painting. You can see here I'm using the pointed palette knife just to give a rough effect, which I feel is similar to the sort of bark texture you see on this particular stump. The area which I'm working on at the top there, there's a kind of relief to it. There's gaps and hollows in the bark where it's worn away. Whilst I don't need to follow any particular pattern exactly, I need to have a good sense of how the final painting is going to look, because obviously once I put this on and it dries, it's pretty hard to remove it. So I keep in mind the texture of the stump and the existing bark. As you can see there, I switched to a flat palette knife. This one's got a serrated top, and that lets me clean out some of the areas where the bark has worn away to give me the effect I want, while still leaving me with a texture surface of fine lines, either vertically or diagonally, as I wish to see in the final painting. The existing areas on the painting there, you can see blank at the moment. I'll be using this same flat serrated top palette in order to give me a sense of texture coming down. The board itself, when you paint on it, also gives a texture to it, so the hope is that the combination of the medium applied with the palette knife and the board will give me the desired three-dimensional type of effect I'm looking for in the final painting, just to give it a little bit more interest and to really bring out the quality of the stump. It's not just a flat image on a board. The area just below the palette knife there, you can see, is a cutout in the tree stump. It's known as a buckboard cut, and that's where the loggers would, when they were cutting this tree down, cut a slot, insert a board, and stand on that board to cut the tree down at a higher length. You see there I've switched to the coarse fibre and the flat palette knife, and I'm just going to draw that down in the areas of the stump there, which I haven't yet covered, and this should give me the effect I'm looking for. When I paint over the stump, I'll do an initial wash to give me a background colour, and the board itself and the grooves on it will fill in mostly, but leave me some texture behind to kind of give a light effect. And then when I paint more quickly and loosely on top of that, the paint, as it were, bounces over the ridges, and that again really highlights different types of colour. And depending on how hard I press with a palette knife or a brush with the final paint, I can get the effect I want. There's also a couple of areas there where there's moss growing on the tree, and I want to make sure I leave those in place too. And there's an area on the very top of the stump which has moss growing on it as well. That's this region I'm adding to it in there. Just above that you can see. There we go. Some soft gel texture to give the moss effect on the top, and there's a bit of a log at the bottom. It's cleaning out some spaces. And here we have the final texture. Still wet, of course, takes about a day to dry, but you can see how the relief there gives the texture I want from this particular stump. So that's how I go about setting this painting up using this gel medium.